Good morning, Westeros!
And welcome to our Morning Throners podcast. I'm Nelson.
I'm Jeff.
And I'm Kyle.
And we're the fucking Morning Throners. And welcome back to another episode of your favorite Song of Ice and Fire podcast. We are your Morning Throners, and we got Jamie 4 on deck. Gentlemen, how's it going?
Great.
I mean, I don't know. I feel like this is a chapter that, like, you guys love me for being here, right? Like, this is one where, like, it's kind of changing my opinion on Jamie. And this
Nelson
is like
said that
the first reader,
last
yeah.
chapter. Nelson's
Yeah,
probably bricked up right now because he was like,
this one section-
Kyle's gonna have a Jamie chapter where he's like, oh, I like Jamie.
I don't think he's gonna say again. I don't think
know
you
that
ever
I
like
like
him.
him.
Yeah, but it's one of the it's like Theon.
Yeah,
kinda.
but it's got easier to read, and you feel worse for him. Yeah. Like, I mean,
It's so funny because Nelson literally said that to me like 36 hours ago. Like, I remember that.
he should have said it on the previous podcast.
I think I did.
That's what he should have
I think
said.
that's what Jeff's
Okay,
saying in the
good.
spoiler section, I think.
Okay.
Hey everyone, Editing Nelson here. Here's the clip from the last episode that Jeff was talking about. Next Jamie one in a while, and he's missing a hand, so that'll be interesting because it's the first it's the first Jamie without a hand, and there will be some interesting revelations that I think Kyle will start coming around on Jamie. I mean, just when the guy loses his hand, it makes you feel for him a little bit, even if he is a dickhead. And then again, we'll start learning some stuff in the next chapter or two.
I don't know if Kyle's going to feel for him. I think Kyle's going to be like, good riddance.
All right, Editing Nelson again. Back to Jamie 4.
Good. Then that's good. I didn't realize that was 36 hours ago.
But yeah, what you're getting to is that you're starting to like Jamie a little bit, or at least feel
I don't
bad
know that I'm
for
starting to like
At
him,
least
but
feel
like
bad
this
for him.
chapter definitely, it made you get a little empathy for him, right? Like he has a story too, and
You do feel bad for him.
Because where we left off,
I don't know.
Because where we
Like I
left
said,
off
it
with
sucks.
Jamie was, just give a recap for the viewers who didn't just read it right there. Where we left off was he had just got captured. Him and Brienne got into a fight, like actual fight with swords. He gets captured by the Brave Companions with Brienne. They take like a small band of them, take him back to Vargo Hoat, and like a larger band of them, and he ends up with like a sword coming down, an rack coming down, and then like cutscene, and like it was kind of
you can't make me scream, and then he screams,
Yeah.
and that's when it ended.
Yep, exactly. So now we cut to here, sometime later, not exactly sure, but like if it would have been much later, he would have died.
One handless.
One handless, yeah, not in good shape. Yeah, it's kind of where we start
One-handed.
here. And then in this chapter, the quick synopsis is pretty much he is one-handed, and he gets to Harrenhal, and he gets fixed up a little bit.
He has one hand. Him and Brienne are cuddling. They get the hair on.
Yeah,
I feel like you've contorted it a little, but okay.
They're forced.
it's all from where you're standing.
Yeah.
But I do agree. Back to what Kyle was saying. Like one, he just lost like the thing that means most to him, right? He
Well,
gets
yeah,
to
and I
that.
guess that's kind of the one thing that kind of still props up my old like hatred of him, right? Like the only thing that changed him is him to actually see and live this other side now, right?
Yeah.
Like he's no longer got his claim to fame, so now he
Yeah.
has to feel sorry for himself, and that's why he kind of goes through why I'm here and all that. Like I don't know, so it's still like the hate is still there, right? Like I still don't really
He
like
still
him,
has
but it
done
was like kind of one of those
stupid-
like I was
he's
like,
still
oh
done
fuck, I
bad
don't.
shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool like one-line quotes of it too that I'll pull out through the chapter. I have like a lot of quotes, not a lot of long ones, but like a lot of short one-liners that are just like thoughts that he has to himself about like just random things that I think are like written in like a poetic way. Yeah, go ahead, Jeff. Sorry.
And just going on one more quick thing is like he defends Brienne a couple times here too. So like, maybe he's doing like knightly shit, even though like, maybe
No.
he's a shit.
He even says at the end, he says the Lannister pays his debt. So again, it's just
Well, I see what you're saying,
But
Jeff.
he said that in like a super jokingly turn. Like he was like, "Oh, like I'll have to get to the quote when."
Well,
he
yeah,
says
we'll
but,
see
like,
it when
he's
we get
like
there.
joking around. It's
Okay.
like, all right, at least you saved my life twice. Like I can save your life once, type of thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I agree that I think there's like a lot of times where he like does stick up for her, or just like even like thinks for like kind of in a better way. But I've just calling myself out on this one. In past chapters, I feel like I've always said that he never calls her wench unless she calls him Kingslayer first. And here he's calling her wench all over the place. He's even thinking about like I think even in the past I was like, oh, he thinks of her as Brienne. Even here he's like thinking of her as wench, calling her wench behind her back to Qyburn. Like just. So I'm just kind of following
behind her back.
saying I'm wrong about
well, maybe
that.
not Qyburn. Qyburn's not. He's not a bad dude. I was gonna say the Mummers. Like I could kind of see him talking shit on her to the Mummers as a play, but at the same time, that's not what you were saying. So
Yeah.
okay.
All right, should we dive in?
Yeah, let's get on into it.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, so Jamie basically comes into this chapter without a hand. So that was the big spoiler, Kyle. I think you called that out.
Yeah.
Too. At the
That he's
end of
not
the last
dead.
one. That he wasn't dead, and you said I think cut off a hand or foot. I don't
Yeah, they
know.
didn't make it
Okay.
clear. I think they said that like they yanked on a chain and then the Iraq came down is all we heard. So you
Yeah.
could imply because he's chained at the hand and foot and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, they never made it clear. So, but I think that Jeff's right. I think you did say hand, and we find out it is hand, and more importantly to Jamie, his right hand, the
Yeah,
important one. Yeah, when he could do
His
stuff
sword
with.
hand. Yeah. Yeah.
Hey everyone, Eddie Nelson again. Here's the clip of Kyle's prediction from the last Jamie chapter. What's going on at the very end?
The very end, Jamie is. I'm just trying to think of how to say it without giving predictions early.
No, that's what we want. We want the prediction early. That way, Jeff and I know what you're.
Oh, you
thinking
want
about
the
this.
prediction? I mean, I think they're about to chop off a hand here, right? Like it seems like they're about to do some serious damage to him.
Eddie Nelson again. Back to this week's episode. We'll get off topic really quick, right off the beginning. How much of that is learned?
No better time.
Like if you had a
He'll learn.
baby,
You learn. You're gonna have to learn. You have no choice.
sure, but like, will it never be as good? Like if you had a baby and it like tended to use its right hand, but you just like forced it to use its left hand, would it like grow up and by the time it's 10, it would want to use its left hand? You know what I mean? Or would it be a thing that's always natural?
I don't know the answer to that.
I don't know.
mean, just from watching like nieces and nephews run around, like I feel like they have a natural side, and like I guess you could try to like force them to do something weird, but I feel like they're just naturally inclined to try one side.
There's got to be
So-
like baseball dads who do that, right? Who try and get their kids
sure,
to like pitch
for
left-handed and stuff. Because left-handed
For
pitching
sure.
is
Like I have a friend.
100%,
I have a
yeah.
friend that Nelson, that tried to do switch hitter,
yeah.
and like at some point he was like, it's just like, it's so much harder to I actually just saw on MLB Network. It's so hard to perfect both sides of it that
Yeah.
like it's more analytically correct to just try to one side.
Yeah, you'll get better
Like, it's
at
so
one
hard
side,
to be that good at both sides that just try to perfect one side.
That makes me think like how much of it is, well, I guess on that, like if you force yourself to be left-handed, maybe you could just be a really good left-handed batter, even if you like,
if you
were
start
naturally
early
right-handed.
enough, like if you're right, like if the parents like just like tie the right hand behind their back and like they have to write left-handed and eat left-handed
Yeah.
and do everything left-handed, but
Sounds like child abuse.
I don't think it affects you that much. I think you're probably best going with whatever naturally.
I just like
better.
hypothetically wondering.
All right,
Yeah.
I know. I was just trying to wrap that up. Let's go.
All right, so it hurts like shit, right? Like he's never felt a pain like this before. He talks about kind of like the phantom fingers that he has, or like
Yeah, the
phantom
whole
hands.
time. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I mean, I've heard that's a real thing.
I'm pretty sure it is real, and I think there's actually a thing where people have, again, off track real quick, like a phantom third limb. Like people honestly feel like they have like a third
I
arm
never heard of that.
coming out of like their side below their one of their other arms.
Interesting.
But
I'd
yeah,
have to look up
I'm
third limb.
pretty sure that's
I
a real
never heard
thing.
of that.
But yeah,
But they're like just laughing at him, right?
Jeff's
Like,
got a
he's-
third leg.
yeah, swinging past his knees. Moving on.
Anyway,
So off track. This is gonna be the longest
so, like,
podcast
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, we're cool. I think we're actually probably going to go through this pretty quick
because a lot of it is him thinking about some of the stuff we've already said. He
Yeah.
brings up how much it hurts a lot, right? Which
Yeah,
it does.
I feel like
hurt.
it's very Johnish of last chapter. Like
he gets a little sympathy for Tyrion.
that's what I was about to say. Like
Yeah.
he's getting laughed at a lot, right? So like he's like, oh, now I know how Tyrion felt.
Yep.
Like okay, like
Which-
yeah, I guess. But
Again, right? Like it took him getting smashed out of his place to understand Tyrion.
Yeah.
Like, what a prick.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
That's still a narcissist bastard kind of. It's hard to use bastard in
He
this
is a
book where there are
narcissist. Like,
actual bastards
I've
are a
heard
main
that-
thing, but
yeah,
go ahead.
he's definitely a narcissist. I've been watching a lot
Yeah.
of Vanderpump Rules for all of our reality TV fans out there, and there's like a huge narcissist on that, and like that would be Jamie. He would be Jamie, the guy, and everyone knows. I'm not going to linger on it because nobody here is watching Vanderpump
I
Rules.
don't
but-
even know what that is, but yeah.
but me, so it like we said, a lot of pain. He's actually been passing out, probably like feverish. Like he's the
it's-
wound is festering.
Yeah, they didn't do a good job of.
They probably didn't even care.
They
right?
haven't been treating him well. Yeah, I don't know if they did anything for him. Yeah, I mean, there's something on it, some linen on it, right? Because he mentions that it's getting gray at one point, and stinky. But yeah, he doesn't get cared for until you get to Harrenhal, which again we don't know how long.
Yeah, the
it's
maester
been,
or ex-maester's like he makes a face. It's that bad. Like I'm gonna throw up on it. Yeah,
yeah. The guy who's used to stumps is not.
I've seen some stumps, and your stump's the worst stump.
Yeah, it's a bad stump. Yeah,
yeah exactly.
But he's fallen off his horse twice, and they strapped him on the Brienne.
Yeah, and even the fool, like the joke of Shagwell, the joke of the mummers, right? Like even he is making fun of you. So that's again,
good. Yeah, because he's joking the lovers, the knight and his lady, but he's like, oh, which one's the knight, which one's the lady? Again, just like making fun of these guys. Shagwell has some like not funny, but like just horrific jokes about the chapter. I guess like out of all his jokes go, this is one of the more tame ones.
I'd have to remember the other ones. We'll get to the other ones. I can't wait.
They're not good. Yeah, Jamie's think again. This is kind of Jamie's narcissism. When he's getting mocked, he's just thinking like, "You son of a bitch! If I had my hand, you wouldn't be saying that shit." Which, like, I think he was saying all kinds of shit to him when he had his hands and he was still in chains. Like in that,
you're still like 17v1. Like you're not that
yeah,
good,
exactly,
Jamie.
Exactly. You're even more now because they're met up with Vargo's crew. Yeah, exactly.
He's got his fucking hand in between him. It's a little Davos action kind of, but it's not quite the same experience.
It's actually grouping Brienne's
like it's
slapping
every
off her,
bounce.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just hanging rot in there. That's gotta be awful smell.
Yep.
And they already smell like shit. Like they mentioned their breath smells. They're both like pussing out of cuts from them. You know, like. They just smell like shit.
Yeah, in addition to his arm, he has the big cut on his eye that's like making pretty much his one eye is completely swollen shut. And he mentions at the end that she's limping on her leg where he cut her during the fight. Yeah.
Yeah. I got a quick mention of him having to drink horse piss. So like
another joke.
I know
they're fucking with him.
Yeah, they're definitely fucking with him. He wasn't able to eat, but he's been drinking. He literally says, "I've been drinking whatever they give me. If it's wine, great. If it's water, perfect."
Yeah.
One time it was horse piss, and I chugged that down really fast too.
Even after they told him it was horse piss, he's like, "Fuck it, I need something to drink," and he just drank it anyway.
That's gross.
Yeah.
And he threw up, but so yeah. I mean, the whole time he's bitching about his hand. Like we don't need to mention that every time.
Yep.
And what else happened in here? Something else happened.
He does try and fight one time. He grabs a sword.
Yep. That's my next point too.
Yep. And he fights around, but he's trying with his left hand. And I think probably when he attempts it, he doesn't realize how clumsy he's going to be. He also says like his fever and everything is like just got him kind of.
Oh yeah, I'm sure he's not in a good spot.
But like when he does it, I just imagine like he looks like a kid, right? Just imagine like trying to swing a sword with your left hand. Like I would be bad enough swinging a sword with my right hand because I've never done it before. But like you just look so clumsy.
I mean, just pick something that you're good at. Like if
golf.
you could. Like just think about it. You're not good at golf.
You just came from golfing. That's why I said that.
Think about a righty baseball player. You put him in the left-handed batter blocks. Like they might be okay, but they're not going to be good enough.
Yeah,
you know
not
what I mean?
at all.
They're not going to be
useless.
Clearly,
yeah. No way.
And he's fighting the jokester, right? He's fighting the Joker.
Yeah,
Shagwell, right?
Yeah, Shagwell the fool. Yeah, exactly.
Shagwell's like bouncing around and
he's just dodging, dipping, diving, ducking, and all his Jamie's cuts.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then he comes and kisses him on the head. So he's definitely just fucking with him the whole time. Like instead of even doing anything about it, he just kisses him just to humiliates him even further.
Yeah, that is bad. That's bad.
Mid fight is what you're saying. Yeah, because Jamie stumbles, he gets kissed in the face.
Let me just scoot up and kiss you on the forehead.
Yeah. And Rorg comes up and puts an end to it, throws Shagwell aside, kicks the sword away.
Is it Rorg or is it
Rorg.
Okay, Vargo's then with Yeah,
and then Vargo shows up, and I know Kyle likes the way Vargo talks, so you can go ahead and do it.
That was the mule thing, Kingslayer,
said Vargo Hote.
Well, if you try it again, I shall take your other hand, or perhaps the foot.
Oh man, his lisp is great, man. Like just writing it. Can you imagine trying to like write it out phonetically? You're like, how would this sound?
I mean, I think it's pretty simple. You just take some Vargo Hote's speech and control finds for S's.
Yeah, it's most S's.
And just replace it with a TH. That's pretty much what it is.
So here we get looking at stars again, right? Like,
yeah,
so I know Nelson loves similarities.
I actually do have this as a quote. Yeah. Jamie lay on his back afterwards, staring at the night sky, trying not to feel the pain that sneaked up his right arm every time he moved it. The night was strangely beautiful. The moon was a graceful crescent, and it seemed as though he had never seen so many stars. The king's crown was at the zenith, and he could see the stallion rearing, and there the swan. The moon maid, shy as ever, was half hidden behind a pine tree. How can such a night be beautiful? He asked himself. Why would the stars want to look down on such as me? So again, I just think that's kind of like one of those like poetic lines that I don't know if there's anything important. Definitely, we haven't heard of constellations at all, and then we hear Bran, John.
However, this is more narcissism, right? The stars are only there for me.
Yeah. Why would they show up when I'm laying here in the mud?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm at my lowest. Why would they be here? They should not be here, right?
Exactly.
Is it Zenith? Have I been saying that wrong my whole life?
Zenith?
Zenith is how
I
I
thought it
always.
was Zenith.
I think it's Zenith.
I don't know. I might have said it wrong.
It's like
I don't know. I was worried.
It's like Xenon the 21st century. If you're a Disney Channel kid, Zenith for sure.
So anyway, Brienne gives him a little pep talk.
Yeah, Brienne's mad at him.
She's kind of saving his life here, right?
Yeah. I agreed. Yeah. I think she gives him the motivation at the end of it all.
100%.
When it's all said and done. Yeah. It's like, what are you doing? Like, what are you trying to die for? You got so much to live for. Like, I don't know if she really gives the reasons. Like, he comes up with his own reasons, but she's like, at least you can have vengeance. Like, be Batman type of shit. But
yeah. And I don't know if this is what Brienne's thinking, but it does make sense with her motivations, right? Like, her goal is get Jaime to King's Landing. If Jaime dies, she can't do that. Right. Yeah. So again, it does seem kind of a friendly way that she gives him this like tough love.
I don't think she's thinking like that.
But yeah, I don't quite either.
It does help her mission for him to be alive, obviously.
Yeah. But yeah, I just wanted to point that out, that it does, like, it aligns with her goals. It might not be a friendly thing, even though I kind of take it as kind of a friendly, like, tough love situation. Yeah.
Yeah, she gets him ready to go. Like, you're being a little bitch.
Well, so the main thing is she calls him a craven, right?
Yeah.
That's the thing that gets really under his skin.
Exactly.
And I kind of can see Jaime's like, all right, fuck it, like, whatever. I'll honorably, like, as a knight, I'd rather die fighting than just die as a handless person.
Which he said a few times, right?
It's like kind of how he's like, fuck it up. Like, I'm going to take the sword and die fighting versus just like them killing me.
Yeah.
Like, I'd rather go out that way.
Not going to give him the pleasure. Yeah.
At this point, I think he's thinking, I've peaked. Like, I can never do as good as I have done.
Yeah.
I was the best knight in the kingdom. I was the freaking knight of the Kingsguard. He's literally the Lord Commander of the Kingsguard right now. He doesn't have a hand.
Yeah.
Like,
he doesn't have his sword hand. He doesn't have his.
Doesn't have a sword hand. Exactly. So, and again, like, obviously we don't think about it like this, but like a person without a hand, like, they're very useful. Like, they're not nothing. Jaime's like, well, if you don't have your right hand, you are, why be here? Type is where.
I mean, just think about it. Like, it's very
my money maker.
Like, if you had to lose a hand, you'd obviously choose your weak hand.
Yeah, for sure.
I could live a majority of my life without my weak hand.
Mm-hmm.
Vice versa, it's a lot harder.
I mean, you could live your whole life without a lot of shit if you had.
I don't want to. I definitely don't want to, because like I'm holding my book in my weak hand right now, and I don't want to have to not be able to do that. But yeah, it's a crazy thought to do that. But
good on you if you've conquered that. That sounds like
for sure.
Yeah, I couldn't.
My dad, I actually played softball with a guy who would pitch. He was one-handed. I think he was born that way. So, but he would.
There was an MLB player.
Yeah, he pitched for the Phillies. Yeah.
Oh yeah, he was on the Braves.
I think his name's Abbott. Last name.
Yeah, Abbott. Greg Abbott. Greg?
I don't want to butcher his first name. I don't know.
No. Let us know in the comments.
But the softball pitcher would hold his glove in his like armpit. Pitch, quick, throw it on his hand, field it. If he did it, he would like toss the ball up, grab the ball. Like, it was crazy.
And they were
like,
quick. I feel like I have seen that before. They're so quick at it. Like, yeah, people who have to do that are so quick at that. Like that.
But Jaime's just not at that stage yet. Like, maybe he can get there.
Yeah.
But
again, like you said, I think if it's from birth, it probably is a lot easier because your brain is like mush when you're a baby, right?
The thing that surprised me about Brienne's pep talk was like it was all about vengeance. Like,
yeah.
Whatever, you got to get these guys back for taking your hand. And he immediately thinks about his family, or Cersei more so than anything.
Yeah.
But that was his first thought, and then it was vengeance.
We have to die together. Is that here?
Yeah.
It's coming.
Like, how fucked up is
right.
that?
It might not be right here, but it's
not
this
right
chapter.
here.
Yeah.
But
his name is Jim Abbott, and he never played for the Phillies or the Braves.
Oh, shit. I thought he was a Philly.
Played for Angels, Yankees, Sox, and Brewers. And when he was on the Yankees, he fucking pitched a no-hitter. One-handed.
Yeah.
Super impressive.
Awesome. That's awesome. You got to watch him. If you haven't seen the pitch, put it in the Discord, Nelson. It's pretty cool.
Sure, but I mean, all fairness, props to that guy. How is pitching a no-hitter any harder one-handed than it is two-handed. Because if they're
just
not
'cause,
hitting
like,
it,
you
you never need to use your glove hand, right?
No, that's not true because they could hit 27 ground balls at him and he had to field every
You're
one.
right. You're right. I was kind of memeing, but yeah, you're right. I also didn't understand 100% what a no-hitter is, but it's not really a no-hitter.
It's no hits all game.
Like a ground ball to you
It just
is a
means
hit.
nobody.
No, that's not a hit.
Nobody got the first base with a hit.
It's not a hit unless you make it to base.
I get what it might not be a hit in technical baseball terms, but if you're out back playing with your son and you throw a ball to your son and he hits a pop fly to you and you catch it, you're still like, good hit, son.
No, that's an out.
It's an out,
Yeah,
but
it's
you're
a good,
still like,
it's
good
a good
hit.
swing.
No,
Yeah,
it's still a good hit.
way
The back
to
of
make-
the
contact.
ball.
Good
Yeah.
contact.
It's not a hit. It's a good hit, but it's not a hit. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
All right, but yeah, he's like, I gotta live for Cersei. Even Tyrion here, he thinks about Tyrion, and then he's like, yeah, and actually, fuck these guys. I'm gonna get them back too.
So he gets a little aria here, right? Where he like starts listing off people.
Yeah.
The Young Wolf, Ed Mirtoli, the Brave Companions. I feel like there was more at some point.
No,
He does a couple
No,
times.
I think those are the three.
yeah,
Yeah.
those are the
Okay.
three. He says.
Also, I want to draw attention. We sometimes we skim over things like this, but it's a weird quote that I'm going to draw Kyle's attention to. When Jaime's thinking about who he cares about, he says, Cersei and Tyrion, his little brother who loved him for a lie.
Yeah, I didn't understand that. That's why I didn't want to talk about it.
Okay, we don't have to talk about it. I just wanted to
What did it mean, though?
I don't know. I just wanted to point it out to you in case you didn't have anything to say about it. We didn't want to make you forget, but obviously I'm not going to say anything. But sometimes we skip over these and we don't. And Jeff and I will be like, "Huh, do you know about that line that we didn't tell Kyle about?" But this is one that I was like, I think we could tell Kyle about it. I don't think he has any idea.
Okay.
There has been a
good,
mention
yeah.
of something similar to this at least once in the past. I'm pretty sure where Jaime thought something along these lines, but it was vague in the past as well. But yeah, just
Okay.
bring it
All right,
up.
so, yeah,
We do get a little more info about him in this chapter, too. That was part of, back to the beginning of this, part of why you feel a little more for him, right?
Yeah.
Like, some background. Anyway, we'll get to that.
So he woke up the next day even more motivated to live, and just kind of goes off over it again. And it's like, I want to live for my family. I want to live for this vengeance. And I think this is I think I wrote the Cersei line, so I still think it's coming up later. Like they have to die together.
Yeah, we might not have got that one yet.
Well, here's where he pretty much is like, I'm going to live for Cersei, live for Tyrion, live for vengeance, and a Lannister always pays his debts. So that's the first time I hear it this chapter. And then he says, when I reach King's Landing, I'll have a new hand forged, a golden hand, and one day I'll use it to rip out Vargo Hood's throat.
Yep. And when he decides, like, I'm going to live, he starts eating the food that they're giving him, which is horse food. They're feeding him the same thing they're feeding the horses.
And he's like, fuck it, I'm going to eat it.
I'm going to eat it anyway.
I
Fuck
need
it.
all the
Yeah,
nutrition I
it's
can
better
get.
than nothing.
I mean, if it's just oats, like, I
guess it's not horrible. It's literally just like cold oatmeal, but like still, it literally says horse. I think George put horse food in like parentheses there. Like George doesn't use parentheses much, but it's like mushed oats, horse food. I think it's just for us to know, like, hey, this is medieval horse food. They're not really feeding Jaime. They're like giving him slop.
It wasn't parentheses, but it was in 2 commas.
Oh, commas. Okay.
Fed him a mush of oats, yeah, comma,
Horse
food.
food. Yeah, I think that's like a, hey guys, like this is not human food.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
yeah, so one thing he took a little bit of pride in was that they still bonded him up day and night.
Yep.
And Brienne too. So like she was kind of always laying next to him or on the horse, but they were always bonded. And he's like, I'm worthless right now, but you're still tying me up because you're that scared of me.
Yeah.
I could take pride in that.
Which is a little narcissistic. I think they just don't want him to run, too, right? Like, I don't think they're afraid of him. Shagwell proved he's not afraid of him.
You could like skirt off or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like, I mean, like,
Yeah,
this is just
narcissistic thought.
common practice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Brienne's being really tough still. Like even though he mentions her having walls up to like block, I guess, like the little blows back and forth. Like she's still tough on the inside, but he's broken.
I think that's kind of a reference to how like she's always been picked on. Like he picks on her. He can assume she's always been picked on because
Yeah.
she's a really big, ugly woman. Right?
She knows how to.
She had to
skirt
build
that shit aside.
Yeah, she's built up a lot of like interior, like I don't give a fuck
emotional walls.
Exactly.
If you don't, she wouldn't be this far. She wouldn't have made it this advanced in this knighthood thing if she let people talk shit on her.
Yep.
But Jaime had lost it all. Jaime lost it all when his right hand was cut off.
His sword hand. Again, sword hand.
Without that, he was nothing. Since the time he could walk, his left arm had been his shield arm, no more. It was his right hand that made him a knight, his right arm that made him a man.
It was his jerkin hand.
Yeah.
That's why he's so sad.
Not ambidextrous.
It's an old friend. Yeah.
They can't use the left hand in Westeros because the stranger's the god of death.
So at some point he finds out that they're heading back to Harrenhal, and he thinks it's a little bit ironically funny. I would say.
Yeah.
I put it ironic in my notes. I didn't know how you guys took it.
Yeah,
but
you're good.
He whispers and they beat him for it. Like you say, it's like ironic, but yeah, he like
Like-
literally laughs out loud and they beat him for it.
Yeah.
And then when Brienne asks him eventually, like, what's he say, Jeff? Read that the ironic line.
Harrenhal was where they gave me the white cloak.
He whispered back.
Whence great tourney. He wanted to show us all his big castle and his fine sons. I wanted to show them too. I was only 15, but no one could have beaten me that day. Ares never let me joust.
He laughed again.
He sent me away, but now I'm coming back.
Kyle, thoughts?
Where it all began.
Just, I mean, this kind of fills out that other story. I forget who it was that told it. Please remind me.
Mira.
This is Mira. This is why I have you around.
Yep.
That's why we have him around.
Mira told Bran this story about this tournament at Harrenhal, but she was vague and she actually didn't say a single name. She
Yeah.
the king,
Yeah,
the
the
dragon
wolf,
prince, and
the young wolf woman or whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah. So this is the story, right? Like we're getting the other side of it, the actual kind of name.
Yeah, this. I mean, I don't know. This might be the first like person who's actually there, like remembering back on it though.
Yep. Yeah. This is our first-hand account. Yeah. How's that?
Interesting though, he says Ares didn't let him joust, and I think he comes back to this later. Like he honored him and spat on him at the same time.
Yeah.
As I think Jamie will say a little bit later in the chapter. Which
Yeah,
again,
he
I don't
spat
know
on
if we
him
heard
right
about
after.
that in the Mira version of the story. Right? It's
No.
like one of those things. I think it's a
How
new
did
bit of
how did she
information.
mention Jamie being in it? Did she call him like the young lion or
She said all the white swords were in attendance to honor the welcoming of their new
Yeah.
brother.
of the new?
And I think
what-
Kyle did even put together that was Jamie because we recently heard about like kind of how that all happened, right?
Yeah.
But she also says that like in that story, the Storm Lord and the Rose Lord were there, but not the Great Lion of the West because him and the king were quarreling.
Feuding.
Yeah.
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 So
Which is why Jamie probably gets a little shit on by Ares because
Yeah.
Tywin and Ares,
Absolutely.
and then that was all I have for now.
Exactly. Yep.
Go ahead.
All right. So 3 days later, Rorg, Zolo, and Shagwell come to rape Brienne,
Yep.
and they try to have like a fun. I mean, they're trying to have fun, right? They're like, "Oh, we're gonna make you uglier, and we're gonna. I'm
Who
going
gets the front
first.
and who gets
Who's
the
going
back?"
first?
Yeah.
Like,
Assholes.
Brienne's just like a tough ass broad too, man. She's ready for it.
Yeah. So Jamie's, I think, trying to help her. He's like, hey, just let him. And I think it's honest. I don't know if it's good advice. I don't know what the advice I would give somebody in this situation, but I think he is trying to be helpful. And he's like, just let him.
I was confused by the saying of let them have the meat.
Yeah,
Just let him do it.
Just kind of pretend
Yeah.
like it's. I mean, you can't pretend like it's not happening, but like, don't try and fight back. Type thing is what he's saying. Just like let him.
Well,
do
no,
that
he
part.
is saying pretend it's not happening. Like
And
zone out,
in your
go
mind,
somewhere
try and think of
else.
something else. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
go
I-
back to somewhere
right,
else and
yeah.
just pretend this isn't happening and forget about it. That's the only option.
Or pretend it's friendly. So that's why
Yeah.
I was confused when he brings up pretend friendly. Like, is he telling her like, oh no, like just go for it like you want them to do it
So,
type of thing?
I think it's
No,
different in
no.
the books. In the show, he definitely says.
I've
Pretend
never
it's
heard
Renly.
them say let them have the meat before.
doesn't-
I've never heard that saying. Before.
It is. That's a. I mean, it's Jamie's. It's a Jamie saying, right? It's not. I don't think it's like a common
Yeah.
thing they would say nowadays. And to just point, I think in the show, Jamie's being more of a dick here, and he does say like pretend it's Renly as like more of a joke. Here, I don't think he says that. He says, "Think of Renly,
No.
think of the mountains." Like he's just telling her to think
Think
of
of
stuff
good
that she
things.
likes. Like take your
Yeah.
like it's not nearly as like crude and like pretend that you're enjoying it type thing, which I think is kind of what he's a little bit in the show. But yeah, so I think it's more sincere here. Like you honestly liked him. Like
but
it's not a
first,
joke, like
well, yeah, and the reason that you can say that is because he says I had to do that. Like I've been through
Yeah.
an experience like this where I had to go somewhere, and it was the Starks, right? So like
Yeah.
this is kind of a look back here
Mhm.
of Jamie Insight, which is again why you feel a little bad for him, right?
And again, he's explained this exact same situation before to Kat when, like, in one of the chapters right before she goes to release him. But it's not, you don't get it from his point of view where like he wanted nothing to do with it and he was trying to go away
Yeah.
inside. Like in there, he was like making fun of Brandon.
He
He was like
wasn't
making
being
fun
real.
of Brandon,
Yeah.
I think, when he explained the situation. But
Yeah, he's crying about his dad or whatever. Yeah,
I forget exactly what he's saying. It wasn't, but
So how did the strangulation? I forgot how this worked? Like, I know we got kind of an explanation of this, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Jamie explained
It's kind
the
of like
whole
a
thing.
saw. It's like a saw machine, right?
Yeah, it's literally like out of saw.
He's tied up to a noose,
Okay.
and the more he tries to save his dad, the more he gets strangled.
Exactly.
Okay.
And his dad's being roasted over a fire in his armor. I think.
Yeah.
And I think Jamie said it took like 20 minutes or something like that. Like it wasn't like
Yeah.
a 2 minute like, oh, he's on fire now. Like
Yeah,
it's
he's
like a
screaming
20
in the
minute-
armor.
yeah.
Yeah.
not good.
Yeah. So those three, Shagwell is like, why don't you guys just both go first, and one can have the back door.
Yeah.
And then they fight over that, and I guess Rourke's like, actually, I'm.
Oh, this is one of the Shagwell gross jokes here. You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is where he.
Eh.
So I think before that he. I don't know. I might be wrong. You
No. He says, think of Renly. All that happens. Rourke won the argument. He says, you're the ugliest woman I ever saw, but don't think I can't make you uglier. You want to notice like me, fight me, and you'll get one. 2 eyes. That's too many. I'll pop one out, make you eat it.
Hold on. Yeah. So after that, Rourke starts to threaten Brienne, and he's like, yeah, like just be quiet about it. And like at first, it's like, why do these guys care? But then you find out when Jamie yells why these guys care.
Yeah. I mean, he's like, I'm gonna cut your nose off. I'm gonna hit you around, basically.
Pop your eye out, make you eat it, and then pull all your teeth out. And that's where Shagwell's
pop your
joke-
teeth out. Yeah.
joke
Yeah.
in air quotes comes out where he's like, oh, do it because then she won't have any teeth and she'll look like my mom. And I always wanted to fuck my mom in the ass. Like,
That was weird.
I think I'm laughing, but like, what a fucking joke, dude.
It's what was George on that day?
I forgot about that one at the beginning. Yep.
So Jamie, he's like, hey, I got a joke for you, or I got a riddle for you. Why do you care if she screams? Oh, I know. And then he yells sapphires, and Rourke kicks him in his stump, and he literally faints like from the pain.
But when the pain spit him out, Urswick was there, and Vargo Hoat. He said, "Thief not to be touched."
Yeah. Spraying spittle all over Zolo.
Thief has to be a maid, you fooleth.
And this is the part Jamie jokes about this later. Thief worth a bag of sapphires. Later he says, I just wanted to hear Vargo Hoat say sapphires.
Yeah, no, it's a great. So that's the next part. It's like, Brienne, why are you sticking up for me? Like, I'm literally trying to turn. I was trying to turn you in. I mean, I guess like she's bringing it back to his family, so like she's kind of doing him a solid too. But
The first thing Jamie
stand up for me.
Yeah, the first thing Jamie says is, "Oh, why did I say sapphires? Because do you think anybody would have cared if I yelled rape? Like nobody would have thought anything of it in this group, right? Yeah, so sapphires.
They would have joined. More people would have joined
Yeah.
in.
Money.
They would have lined up.
This was money in the line, exactly.
Yeah,
The one thing I want to just hit on, I've read it a bunch. Like Jamie always he's always making jokes, right? Like
yeah.
even like I don't think it's how he felt. Like he did this to save Brienne. I could say that, but like,
Yeah.
oh, I just did it so. I don't know. They didn't. You couldn't get any uglier, right? That's like,
Yeah,
kinda
what
like,
he says is you
Because
here.
he can't show vulnerability. He can't show weakness. He can't show that he cares about somebody that he's supposed to hate.
Yeah.
Right? Like he's definitely
Right.
he's definitely starting to give a shit about Brienne. But
Yeah.
he won't admit it to himself because that's beneath him. Because he's fucking an asshole, narcissist, piece of shit, right?
But also kind of nice because like a 100% asshole narcissist piece of shit would have just let it happen.
But
and,
we
like,
can see that, and we can.
You're still a prick though, man. Like that's like the jock in high school talking shit on you,
I know.
and then like in the background being your best buddy. That's bullshit. Get out of here.
I'm not saying he's the best guy ever, but like he's there when you want him there, right? Like I'd rather have a bully.
He did one good thing
I'd
so
rather
far.
have a
No.
bully stop me from getting raped than a bully not stop me from getting raped. Like that, I'd rather take the second bully. He's a better guy than the first bully. You know what I mean?
How about
that is
neither
true.
of them?
Yeah, I mean, they both suck, but
Just take the bullying out of it. All right. So the one thing that
and he even-
Vargo.
well, I think it's interesting here because when she says like, "Why'd you do this?" and he to that point, he's like, "Yeah, because you'd be more uglier, and I got to spend all the time with you, and I wanted to hear Hoat say sapphires."
And then he says a
And I
Lannister
owe
pays
you.
his debts.
Well,
Yeah.
he both the so I want to talk about both the things, but before both those things, he says, "And good, like what we were just talking about." He said, "Good for you. I'm such a liar. An honorable man would have told the truth about sapphires." We heard this in the last chapter. The whole reason they think she's valuable
It's
is
just
a
a
lie.
beautiful island. Yeah.
It's a pretty place with blue water and
No
and
actual sapphires.
Yeah, she has money. Yeah.
all of them. There's like 20 guys here. They all think that she's worth a
But
lot.
they're all idiots, dude. You've met them, right?
But that's not the point. The point is it's based
Okay.
off Jamie lying, which
Yeah.
is dishonorable, right? Which Brienne would hate, right? But
Is
like,
it?
oh, does she hate it if when it's serving her, right? It's stopping her from being raped. Like, if they knew the truth,
I do get your point now. Is what you're trying to say.
Ned Stark would never have done that.
I don't know about that.
I think there's a lot of characters that we know that would have done that we think are like Robb Stark might have done that.
He wouldn't have thought about it probably.
I'm gonna give you a catch 33. If the honorable thing is to lie to save a girl from being raped, the honorable thing is to lie. So if you're saving the girl from being raped, the honorable thing is to lie. So your thought of Ned not lying to save a girl from being raped is wrong.
That's like a more complicated situation, but I think Jamie said this again, going back to that Cat chapter where he like basically says all this stuff to Cat. He's like, when she's like, you have no honor. He's like, you have all these vows, like do this, do that. They contradict all the time.
Yeah, there's no way to win. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're right. I see what you're saying. This is the gray area. How's that? This is the gray area, the degree of gray, like whatever. But this is like, you're right. This is kind of he's showing that it's not just black and white like thinks it is.
Yeah. And I think she's kind of learning that a little bit firsthand.
Yep.
So going into what you guys were saying, the next thing, Lannister pays his debts. And what is this a payment for?
Dropping the rocks on Robin Ryder.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
doing that bullshit, right? And pushing the Volkswagen off the cliff and then jumping back on the boat. Yeah.
Being a badass.
All right, so the next part is Vote is going to make him walk into Harrenhal. So they make them both get off the horse.
Yep.
Bonded up.
I want to make a scene out of your ass going into Harrenhal, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because again, like he's famous.
I'm gonna chant the whole way too.
This is like the most famous guy in the kingdom. Like I don't even know how to like compare this because like we normally
we
normally compare them to like athletes, but but it's kind of hard because it's also like an enemy. Like athletes aren't enemies, but it's like
we just watched that Boston Bomber thing. Like when they found them like days later, they found the kid after he was hiding in that boat. I don't know if you remember that marathon bombers.
If you're gonna do it,
the Boston Marathon bombing.
Yeah.
It's a massive.
I mean, I know that, but I don't know about the kid that was in a boat. Like, what do you mean?
They found him hiding in the backyard of a person's boat.
Oh man, it was a manhunt for like days and days. Yeah, well, and then they didn't let him up. So they had a gunfight in the street with him and his brother. He like ran over his brother, killed his brother on the way out, and then he escaped and was like hiding in a backyard in a boat for like 2 days, something like that. And then finally some dude was like, hey man, I got a boat and there's like blood all over it. Like he called the cops and like there's blood all over it. The tarp's pulled up and I think there's some dude in there. And they showed up and you're right, Jeff, they did light it up, but he ended up living and now he's in jail. But anyway, when they found the kid, they like brought him in and like all of Boston was like chanting.
Oh, the bomber? Pumped. When you say the kid, you mean the bomber.
The Boston Marathon bomber.
Oh.
There were two brothers. Okay. The one was younger.
Okay.
I guess he wasn't a kid. I mean, he was a college kid.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. It's a kid.
So, but anyway, same idea. That's a experience, right? Like it's like they brought in him. They brought in the
enemy, the number one enemy.
Yeah.
It's kind of like even
public
like,
enemy number one. Yeah, enemy of the state.
Yeah. I think that's fine. Or you could even say like Saddam Hussein when we killed Saddam Hussein and they were all like
they captured
Osama bin Laden.
Yeah.
And they were chanting in Philadelphia. There's videos all over that of them at the Phillies game. It happened during a Phillies Mets game. I think.
Yeah, exactly. That's what Vargo's expected here. Yeah, that's what he wants. So they're walking. They're both all. I think it's funny because Jamie makes the distinction that Brienne's ropes are around her hands, but Jamie's is around
his. Or no, her hands. Yeah,
Jamie's is around his waist, probably because he doesn't have hands. So like, that wouldn't really
it's not quite the same anymore. Handcuff doesn't work when you only got one hand. Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I was thinking about that though.
No, you're right, 100%. Yeah,
for sure.
And again, this is where he gets some of the mental like rage keeps him walking. Like, kill. We're gonna make vengeance. That's why we're going. That's why we're staying alive here.
Arya Stark, right?
Which is funny because like he's kind of following Arya's footsteps right now. Like. Arya wasn't like captured
in reverse.
But
in reverse,
she went into Harrenhal,
and they're kind of like they passed and like actually stepped.
And they did actually step in each other's path just now. Yeah, Harrenhal. Yeah.
But Bran notices the banners that are flying, and the flayed man of Bolton is a Stark man, and then there's also the twin towers of Frey, and I guess there's a Stark wolf flying too. They kind of mention it, but
they just said gray and white. But yeah.
But right before, I want to read a quick quote before that, kind of going back to the other Harrenhal quote. A bitter smile touched Jaime's lips as they crossed that torn ground. Someone had dug a privy trench in the very spot where he'd once knelt before the king to say his vows. I'd never dreamed of how quick the sweet would turn to sour. Aerys would not even let me savor that one night. He honored me, then spat on me. So yeah, I kind of mentioned this one earlier. I think it's one of those poetic.
Yeah,
lines.
this is when he didn't let him joust.
Yep, send him out.
Probably because he was showing him up or something, right? Or showing up Rhaegar or something.
Yeah,
That's my guess.
He probably just didn't want Jaime to show up Rhaegar. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, then they go into the banners, the flayed man. This Jeff already talked about. Fly the direwolf.
And I think the interesting thing there was when Brienne's like hype, it's like, oh, Northern banners. That's our team. That's good.
They're gonna help me.
Yeah, but then he says, but there's heads on both sides of them, and I feel like I know who they are, but I can't think of who they are.
I actually don't know if they're specific people. I took this just more as like a general. Your side's just as bad as our side. Like you guys have heads on spikes, just like we have heads on spikes.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, that's what he meant. I thought it was somebody we knew though too.
You're right. I mean, before Arya left, we might have heard of some heads on, like specific heads going on spikes.
Yeah.
I just don't remember off the top of my head right now.
Yeah, so they go in and
she pulls her card, right?
well, yeah, like he gets pushed down, right? He kind of like shoves in the mud one last time, like in front of these people. There's 3 phrases there.
Yeah. Well, one thing is the walls were so thick. It was like, sorry, but I'm going back.
Oh, I thought you were gonna make a joke about the killing the dog and making fun of him. That is his banner.
I'm gonna talk about that too. The dog thing.
That was before your the walls.
Yeah. So for the dog thing, so there's a dog. So there is a crowd. Pretty much is what Jamie's saying. There's a crowd there to like see them, and there's a dog chasing after them. A spotted bitch that Lyseni stabs and then holds over Jamie and says it's a King Slayer's banners. I don't really understand that. Like, why is a dead dog
being in his banner?
His banner.
Yeah, it's stupid.
But what I was thinking about was like, hold on, Arya's boss when she was in Harrenhal, Weiss, had a spotted bitch who killed him. Right, that like Arya said.
Is this the same one?
Or killed him, or was eating him afterwards? Was it the same one? Looked it up. Apparently, in that Arya chapter, they shoot it with a crossbow.
He fell off.
I thought that the dog killed him. You guys were saying that doesn't make sense. That somebody killed him and the dog was just eating his blood.
Yeah.
It was kind of like a fuck him type.
That
thing.
was what I was thinking. Yeah.
Either way, they killed the dog with a crossbow. At least that's what the wiki said.
Gotcha.
So apparently, this is just a different spotted bitch. But I thought with that would have been cool.
Maybe they just are common around here.
All right, so yeah, Jamie gets pushed down
Jeff,
in front of these phrases.
The walls are so thick, it's like passing through a tunnel.
Yeah, which I get. This just again gave me kind of like. I know John went over the wall, not through the wall, but like I think John has thought this before. Like the first time he did go through the wall, is like it was more like a tunnel.
That's a good point.
Yeah, which for a castle, I mean, for a man-made ice wall, it's impressive, but for a fucking castle, that's crazy.
It's a thick wall. It's a thick wall for sure.
Even before you mentioned the wall, this kind of gave me like because the last chapter I talked about how I don't picture these castles much different from each other. This is one that forced me to picture it a little different, right?
It's just ridiculously
which is crazy.
I just want to hit on this too because just we had Arya a couple of chapters ago. This castle is smaller in girth, I guess, than the Stony Sept, right? It's just super tall, but it must have this big ass wall. Like the town is small.
The town is smaller.
So like it's just this big ass. Like I'm picturing this big ass wall. And then a big ass castle, right, where everyone's kind of living in this castle, and
it didn't have to be as spread out because more people were in there.
Everything big, even like the Great Hall is called like in Harrenhal, the Great Hall is called the Hall of 100 Hearths.
Well, so here's the thing, right? So like you got a neighborhood and you got an apartment building. Both could house the same number of people, but one's spread out and one's one building.
Yeah, more people are living in the castles of Harrenhal than actually like in the town, right?
Well, even if they're not, but okay.
Even when Arya was there, she was saying only like the 1.5 of the 7 towers were occupied.
Now.
Right?
Yeah.
And she was living in the Wailing Tower, right? She was living in as a
peasant,
cleanup girl or peasant.
But there is a town nearby Harrenhal called Lord Harroway's Town, which is where probably all the
not
peasants
that
and
close,
stuff would live.
but it's like decent amount of way, I would say.
Yeah.
But whatever. All right, so
I give you the Kingslayer.
Yep. Exactly.
Jamie sent to his knees, like you were saying, and Jamie looks up and he sees 5 men in mail and a Northman in wool and fur, and he recognizes the 5, and he says a fury of phrase, and he offers his condolences to Sir Danwell, Sir Aenys, and Sir Hostine. We don't get the names of the other 2.
They don't.
Walter's sons. Yeah.
They're third sons.
They talk about his aunt.
4th wife.
Yeah, so they ask, what are the condolences for?
Cleo's got his head smashed in by a horse and filled with arrows, so.
Your nephew Cleo's got fucked up. And these lot my captors
Yeah,
took all his
yeah.
shit and left him for the wolves. Like Jamie's trying to
Exactly.
get him.
He's kind of trying to play his card here too, right?
Already trying to get him on
That's
his
a good
side.
point. I didn't even think about that.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, it's like, please treat me better than them, right? Like I got one hand, motherfucker. These guys are killing your family.
I wonder what Vargo's thinking because like everyone, like Brienne and Jamie, are both like, he did this to me, and like Bruce is kind of just like,
He just stand there with a list and doesn't know
And
what to
just
say.
like bad luck.
And that's
like,
the
come
thing,
on.
right? Like so Vargo thinks this place is his already, so he's kind of bigger than his britches.
He's
right?
acting the Lord.
Yeah, he thinks he's the big swinging dick on campus. Like this place is mine, and Bruce is like, not yet, buddy.
Edmure to Hoster, right?
Yeah,
Kind of.
yeah.
Yeah,
Not
so
quite a parallel, but
I think it's pretty good. I think it is pretty good.
It's a good parallel, but it like only if like Hoster jumps out of bed like the grandpa from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Like you thought he was a goner, but like
Yeah.
Dude, I've seen so many memes of like fuck Grandpa Charlie or
Grandpa Joe.
Grandpa Joe Bucket. Like, are you kidding me? Like now you want to hop out of bed? You could have been working this whole time, you fucking twerp.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, so now Brienne shoots her shot. It's like, wait, Frey guys, I'm here for Lady Catelyn, who you serve under Rob. Help me. I got to take Jamie to his family in exchange for the daughters. And the Freys are basically like,
Yeah, we don't give a fuck.
screw you.
Hey, you're worth a shitload of money. You're to both. Well, they go through like you're worth money to the Lannisters. You're worth money to River Run. You're worth money to like.
Well, not to Brienne. Do they do this to Brienne?
Well, I mean, they kind of do right here, right? Like, they kind of try to drown me, and then like immediately they go back to Jamie. You're right. Not to Brienne, but like this is right when it happens.
Well, I'm just saying the part that Jeff's talking about is she says like she's talking to the Freys and she's like, I'm on your side.
Okay.
And they're like we don't give a fuck about Rob. Rob betrayed us. Like fuck Rob. It's like we're
Yeah,
the Freys
okay.
right now.
It does go. I do agree with Kyle. The next one is Serenus was unmoved. Why should that trouble us? Ransom him back to River Run. Castle Rock has more gold. Kill him. Like,
But
that's
really,
the three.
no, they did answer her though with a fuck you. Like Rob's not cool with us right now, and Jamie's like, ooh, like
What's that mean?
this might
What
play into my
happened?
hand a little bit.
Yeah, so the one thing that I wonder about though, like, is it seems like Rob's not cool. They're not cool with Rob, but they're not like super against Rob because, like, to the point that you guys are bringing up,
They're still with the Boltons too.
they're with the Boltons, and their options for what to do with Jamie are give him back to like their first one's sell him back to River Run, which is like give him back to Rob.
Rob didn't really fuck him that much, right? Like, I mean, like he just, didn't marry one.
Yeah. But the other thing that he also did to get back in their favor, right, was, and again, I don't know if it's like get back in their favor, but he killed Karstark because Karstark killed
a Frey.
Yeah. A Frey and a Lannister.
Kind of did him a solid there.
So he was trying to do okay.
Yeah, so
right.
So
Rob.
again, I don't think they're happy with him, but they're like, okay, he's doing
the best he can. He's being honorable.
Yep.
There's one thing I thought that was funny was like Ursula was like, well, when we found Brienne, she tried to kill him. She wasn't trying to take him back to Castle Rock. She was or King's Landing. She was trying to drown him.
That's right after she's like, yeah, so I'm on your side.
I swear it wasn't. I swear.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm supposed to protect him. Catelyn sent me. Like, I'm supposed to protect him and get him to King's Landing.
Why were you trying to kill him? Yeah,
exactly. And she's like, oh fuck, that's right, I was. She's like, I lost myself.
I would have remembered. I would have remembered before he died. I swear.
I wouldn't have killed him, or else then we wouldn't have got the girls back. They would have killed the girls. Is what she said.
He dies. The Lannisters will put my lady's daughters to the sword. Yeah. And then now here they're like, yeah, well, fuck whatever you're saying. Like, ransom him back to River Run. Castle Rock has more gold. Kill him. His head for Ned Stark's is the last.
Yep.
So then Shagwell comes in. He sings this song. There once was a lion who danced with a bear. Oh my, oh my.
Yep. And this is because
silence, fool.
Yep. They've already.
Silence.
The Kingslayer is not for the bear. He is mine.
God, this is a great Fargo host.
It's too fun.
Yeah. So we already know this because they already gave what's his face to the bear. Amory Lorch. Yeah, they gave Amory Lorch when the Lannisters lost
people to this
Harrenhal.
fucking bear.
Yeah, they just like feed people to the bear. They want to feed Jamie to the bear. So,
which is great because like didn't the mummers bring this bear back? They just like showed up with it.
Yeah,
I feel like it showed up in a chapter.
I forget how they got it. Yeah, they just like brought it in one time from like pillaging. I think you're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is where Roose speaks for the first time, and again, I think Roose is like like super creepy, but also like kind of like badass, and like the way he like Rue speaks for the first time, and Jamie says he spoke so soft that like all the men like quieted to like he's outside in a courtyard full of men.
Well, and this happened with Arya too, I think, right? Like I feel like the leeches, people were doing the leeches, and they were like all being real quiet. Yeah,
just the way he talks, the way he carries himself is like you're gonna listen to. If you want to listen to me,
respect.
like you shut the fuck up and listen to me. I'm not speaking loud for you.
Well, that Arya chapter Kyle's talking about is bananas. Like I feel like that's not like Roose in those books is totally like way more like weird than Roose in the show is like kind of creepy. But like in that Arya chapter, he's laying there naked on a table with like 8 people like being leeched. With
hundreds of leeches
he's
on
holding
him or
a
whatever,
council while he's naked being leeched on a table. Like, why don't you just do that 10 minutes later?
You shouldn't need to be leeched that often. Like, maybe you're sick. Maybe you have a cold. You want to get leeched. Maybe you got a cut. And you need to get leeched on your bed. Like, he's just getting leeched to get leeched. Like, it's like his morning coffee.
Yeah, it's like he just got addicted to it.
But,
yeah. It's like he'd be on My Strange Addictions in today's day.
It's the only way he can get an erection, probably.
Oh God!
Why do you want an erection in your council? All right, we're going too long. Let's go.
Yeah, we are. He basically comes up and is like, "Wait, Jamie's no one's if he's dead. So like, stop trying to like ransom off to everybody." And Jamie like immediately. This is one of the mentions I said earlier. Is like he just comes in joking. And he's like, "Oh, Roose, I heard my dad was beating the shit out of you. It's funny that you stopped retreating."
When'd you turn around? Like, last I heard, you had your tail between your legs running the other direction.
Yeah, and I like this quote here. Bolton's silence was 100 times more threatening than Vargo's slobbering malevolence. Pale as morning mist, his eyes concealed more than they told. Jamie misliked those eyes. They reminded him of the day at King's Landing when Ned Stark had found him seated on the Iron Throne. The Lord of the Dreadfort finally pursed his lips and said, "You have lost your hand." "No," Jamie said. "I have it here, hanging around my neck." So to your point, like even about this, the thing that has
he's still joking. He's still fucking
not
around.
only has been physically paining him, but he's like mentally distraught about all chapter long. When it's brought up in a conversation, his just immediate instinct is just like,
"No, I have it."
Joke about it. Yeah, it's right here.
Didn't lose it. I got it. So this is a Davos kind of parallel-ish, right? Like I feel like he's like grabbed his fingers when people have mentioned it before. Like
they're still with me. I still have them.
I think it's a parallel, but I don't think like Jamie feels the same way. Like I don't think Jamie would be.
I agree.
Hand.
These aren't his luck. I know. That's what I'm saying. I guess like so. Maybe not a parallel.
An
and this is
antilel.
even before I said an antithesis. Is that the
opposite?
Anyway,
yeah.
It's a comparison more than anything, right? Like it's kind of juxtaposing these two different situations. And
no, I agree with you.
So what he's saying there, Nelson, is that his silence is way more threatening than Hote being like crazy and threatening the whole
chopping
time,
off fucking limbs and shit.
Because Jamie just like took a dig at him, right? He's like, "Oh, why'd you run away from my dad?" And like, if you said that to Vargo would be like, "Shut the fuck up, King Thrath. I'll have your other hand," right? And Bolton just like stands there and like gives him that like disappointed dad look, like,
and just moves on, and just moves on
it's terrifying, probably, right?
Yeah.
He's probably like, "Oh fuck,"
and just in that silence. Jamie's probably just like, "Oh fuck, I have no power.
Yeah.
Why the fuck did I
That's
just
what
say
I'm
that?"
saying.
You just,
Yeah.
And Bolton knows what he's thinking. Just like let him think about what he just said. Realize how dumb it was. I don't have to say it.
Yeah, he'll figure this out. Yeah, he's smart.
So the next part is Bolton comes up to Jamie. He's like, "Take this hand off. Like, what the fuck you doing?" Like, he's probably mad that he probably did chop his hand off, right? Like,
For sure.
He's mad he's damaged goods.
Yeah, I mean,
I was gonna say this goes back to the Arya chapter, right? And how the huntsman and the what's the other group's name?
Just the outlaws that are Arya's with.
The outlaws that are with Arya. Like the way they like kill those dudes because they're like, this doesn't fly with us, right? Like, and this is Bolton here saying this doesn't fly with me. Like, you can't be doing this torturous shit. Like, which is kind of anti-Bolton too, right? Like what we know about him, they flay people, and his his bastard is like this huge piece of shit.
It's interesting because the Boltons in the North right now seem to, they're all on board with like the flaying people and like everyone hates them. But the last that we saw, like when Roose heard about his son, like Ramsay died, right? Like that's the news that came south. It turned out that he was pretending to be the servant later, blah, 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 blah.
Reek.
But Reek. But when they got news and they're like, "Hey, Roose, your son's dead," he's like, "Okay, good riddance. He kind of sucked. Like he was the worst." So like, it makes sense. That
You're right that they don't share the same.
100. I mean, again, Roose is creepy. He's getting, like I said, he's getting leashed and
Roose
stuff.
is different.
But
Roose is
it might not be the same type of like, weird, creepy.
He's not evil.
Yeah.
Necessarily yet.
Yeah.
From what we know.
Exactly.
We do find out about Hote's plan about what he was gonna do with Jamie.
Yeah,
I think that's the other part of Hote is acting like he's the Lord of Harrenhal right now, and and Bruce's like, shut the fuck up, like you're not.
So I think you're right. I think what Hote says here, and I'll let Kyle read it because I know he does a good voice. I think this is what he honestly like is like thinking is the next step, like good steps.
I will send it to his lord father. I will tell him he must pay 100,000 dragons, or we shall return the Kingslayer to him piece by piece. And when we have this gold, we shall deliver their Jamie to Carthage and collect the maiden too.
Yep. So also by like for Vargo's take, like not a bad plan. If you don't have a horse in the
Bolton
race,
even
right?
says
like,
that, right?
If you don't really care north south, like then yeah, it's a good plan.
Yeah.
Like get money and get the maiden and get the castle, right? Like wasn't he? I guess maybe you don't get a castle, but if you get the maiden, but
he's getting Harrenhal. So these are the Karstarks that are out searching for Jamie as retribution, right?
Yep.
Like this is the ones that hate Robb currently.
And there's a son at Harrenhal, right? That was the story.
There was a. Well, I think he might have been with the group that
went with Roose. A son with Roose, right?
You're right. He was captive at the Green Fork.
Yeah.
Well, no, he was at the Green Fork. He went to the Green Fork with Roose, got captured. Was probably in Harrenhal when it got taken over, though.
I thought that was and then maybe sent to.
But for some reason, I think he was in the group that went to Duskendale. That we heard got completely shit on by Randall Tarley.
Yep.
For some reason, I think he was with them. But you're right. He might be at Harrenhal.
No, you're right. You're right, Nelson. You're right. But when they said like, oh, whoever finds Jamie, my son will give you the castle, they had mentioned that he was at Harrenhal.
Yeah.
But he's actually at Duskendale. So
yeah.
All the poachers think that this guy's at Harrenhal waiting for Jamie.
Yeah. Well, the next thing that they go on is like when Vargo says that is like pretty much Roose says that's not going to work. Rickard's dead. That deal's off, which we talked about. Like, is the deal still on? Like, did he send word back north? Like, hey, if they show up with Jamie, like, honor this. Like,
he didn't say he's dead. He said he's shorter by a head. So he said.
I guess he could have taken a head's length off the bottom.
Yeah, he gone though. But yeah,
that was one of my notes.
Yeah,
that was all.
It is a good line. And this is where we find out about Tywin not leaving King's Landing anytime soon because they won the Battle of the Blackwater.
Yeah, so I think this is kind of Roose updating Vargo Hote on some of the stuff that's happened that he hasn't got news about while he's been out doing his shit. Because we probably actually saw Vargo Hote leave from an Arya perspective. But yeah, so Roose is updating Vargo on all this stuff. And the first thing he says is, Rickard's dead. That deal's off.
The Lannisters won the Battle of the Blackwater. They're also now paired up with the Tyrells, and Joffrey is marrying Marjorie instead of Sansa.
Yeah, Brienne was a little confused in there somewhere about, like, what do you mean, Tyrell? Like,
Highgarden.
Winterfell, yeah.
Winterfell, yeah.
But they straightened it out, like Jeff said. Yeah, no. Battle of the Blackwater changed everything. Like, Rose, Lannister, they're together now.
Yep.
Burned his fleet to ashes. They talk about Tyrion lighting the river on fire at some point.
Yeah.
Yep.
Tyrion, but he took a wound, but he's doing okay. Jamie kind of checks in on
well,
all
hold
the
on.
family.
Before that, Jamie asked about Cersei.
Yep.
And Bolton says, she is well, as is your nephew. Bolton paused before he said nephew. A pause that said, I know. Which, like, everyone knows Stannis sent this thing worldwide. Stannis sent this letter to everybody.
And it's true. Right? And they all know it's true. I feel like everybody believes it.
Jamie would probably be like, yeah, it's my son.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. I mean, everyone's like, anyone who's at least seen, I mean, maybe Roose hasn't seen them, but like anyone who's seen them is probably like, oh yeah, that makes sense. I mean, that's how Ned figured
that's
it out.
fair.
It's
Yeah.
just a straight up eye test.
So they take him to the Maester.
Yeah.
He's not the Maester.
Before that, really quick, Brienne's like, yo, they tried to rape me and they stole my armor.
Yeah.
And Cameron's like, or not Cameron,
Roose.
Bolton's like, stop trying to rape this girl.
And unbind the woman's hands. Yeah. So like he's trying to treat her better.
Yeah.
And then like you said, she's like, well, and they stole my armor.
You don't need that. You'll be a lady here. You don't need no armor.
You don't need armor or sword here. You're under my protection.
You protected. Yeah. Which is kind of a dig at her almost. She doesn't realize it. I don't think he's doing it on purpose.
Yeah, I mean, everyone just treats ladies like this. Or like, why would he? Roose doesn't have the.
He doesn't know who she is.
Yeah, he's heard nothing except for like, oh, I'm supposed to. I mean, it is confusing. Like, I'm supposed to take Jamie to King's Landing. Like, Roose would probably raise his eyebrows. Like, that doesn't make any sense. What do you mean? Catelyn sent just one person. But
and who?
He has to have heard the rumors Like he's not
Probably.
saying it, but Arya's been all over the Riverlands, and she's heard the rumor everywhere she went that Jaime's escaped. And like in the last Arya chapter, we heard in that tavern.
She hasn't heard a single thing about Brienne.
Arya did. In the last Arya chapter, she heard that Catelyn and the maid who killed Renly went in with Jaime, and then they let him go for love.
Yeah, that's
Again,
true.
that was like the rumor. Like
Let him go for love. They don't know he's with or she's with him.
yeah. I'm just saying, like Roose, if he heard that same thing that Arya heard last chapter, he might be putting some pieces together.
Roose is probably getting birds too, right? Like he's probably getting more information than Arya.
Yeah, like,
so that's fair.
He might be getting the 100% truth. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Jaime gets in to see Qyburn, who is the maester in acting at Harrenhal.
I mean, he's a maester.
he's doing the maester's job for sure.
He's a doctor without a license.
So I was gonna say, Kyle, what's your thought on this? It was only a quick mention of what actually happened to him.
He said the Citadel took his chain.
Yeah,
that was all he says.
Jamie asked him about it. He does not linger on
He's
on
like,
it long.
he's like, you're with Hote. Why are you with Vargo?
Yep.
Like, and he's like, well, they took my chain. And then at some later point, though, he says something about like he doesn't look like a monster, right? Like
even at the beginning, he says he's a gray-haired, fatherly man. Is like the first description.
Yeah, he seems like a nice dude. He's well, we'll go from the beginning. He's a nice dude. He's trying to help Jamie. He's like, I'm gonna have to take your whole arm. This thing is fucked. Like you're screwed right now. Like
Jamie's like, nope.
Jamie's not having
He's
that.
like, well, then half your arm.
Nope.
Like that'll help.
Don't even think about it. Not a shot.
Yeah, and then he says, I'll just take the worst of it.
Yeah,
and
damn straight you will. We'll do our best. Is pretty much what Jamie says. Like we'll hope for the best.
Yeah.
Let's take my chances.
And then he wouldn't let him put him to sleep because he thought he'd cut it off. Which
no milk of the poppy,
terrible,
just wine.
Right? Like,
yeah, I think there's I thought a weird line. Qyburn looked in Jamie, not the exact line, but Qyburn looked in Jamie's eyes, and what he saw gave him pause, and he's like, okay. When Jamie's basically insisting, like, you're not going to take my fucking arm off.
I think he knew.
Jamie gives him like a look, like,
you mean that?
Don't even fucking deal with it. Yeah, don't even think about it.
Well, then Qyburn's like, there will be pain. I'll scream. A great deal of
I
pain.
think it's a badass line.
I'll scream very loudly.
Yeah.
Will you take some wine at least? Does a bear shit in the woods?
I think this is actually. I think this is a very interesting response by
it's
Qyburn.
the Pope Catholic,
because Qyburn says no, or not that I can't really tell. Like,
of that I'm not certain. Does the High Septon ever pray? Of that I am not certain. I shall bring the wine. Lie back. I must need strapped down your arm. So he knew what he meant, but he's like,
it made
the High Septon is.
I think Qyburn was kind of joking with a joke there, like
maybe, but I also, me reading too far into everything, it makes me wonder, like, is he a Red God supporter or is he an Old God supporter? Is kind of or a Kraken supporter.
Not even that. So the Maesters, the Citadel took his chain, right? And I guess the Septons aren't the same as the Maesters.
They're very interlinked.
Like
it's a good point. I didn't.
But
think
he's
about
probably like he probably knows some stuff, and he's probably against them as well, right? Like to some degree. So, and this is just.
I just thought he was joking. Like if someone says there's a bear shit in the woods, and be like, I don't know, do they wipe their ass after too?
No, well, you're right. It's the same kind of joke. That's a type of joke that Jamie's making. But let's actually put it in like common terms. If I said like, does the Pope ever pray? And you said, of that, I'm not sure. Like, that's kind of like I'm not really with.
Especially somebody that knows them.
Like,
right,
if you, like, a religious person would never say that. Which kind of just makes me think he might be anti, or another religion at least.
Anti-Citadel. Yeah. Anyway.
It might just be me really reading too much into it.
Moving on. Qyburn cuts back all the old flesh. He boils the stump. It hurts really bad. Jamie actually passes out during it.
Yep.
And
his arm fucking stinks.
It stinks bad. Yeah. The wine actually, him dribbling wine down his chin actually is masking the smell.
Yo, man, put me out, cut that half arm off. Like, get out of here.
Yeah. Like, I actually don't understand why he cares. Like, what's the difference?
I mean, you could just think about it. Like, you could put like a Captain Hook. Hand. You could put like, or just like think about like more
something
practical,
useful,
like a
hook,
Captain Hook. Like, he did pretty well with that in his sword fight.
I guess like nowadays, like I think they have like working robot arms. I know we're going too long, but I'm pretty sure.
I know a guy that has one that like he does like this
attached to his nerves.
It's like thing? It depends how. No, I think it's just the movement of your wrist kind of thing. His is like older.
I think they have like one that like if you have enough money, you can like plug it into your brain and articulate fingers pretty much.
I don't know about if plug it into your brain. It's like plug it into like nerves
I don't know how
in your
it works,
arm.
but like
I think it's like nerves and tendons and stuff in your forearm. But
and I'm sure it's not 100% the same, but it's like it's pretty fucking crazy. I think what's actually out there.
I know there was one on a TV show. I see a clip of it every now and again. A girl had a whole robotic arm, but it got infected. So, but
The robot arm got infected? What do you mean? You can't just say
No,
that.
no, her arm got infected.
Oh, from the robot arm. Gotcha.
All right, so Qyburn cleans up most of his arm, and Jamie's like, "Hey, the wench
You've been
I
here
came
before."
with
No, he says you've done this
Yeah,
before,
yep.
right?
He's like, "Oh, when you're around Vargo, there's a lot of stumps." So I got.
And this is when he has a conversation: is how does a maester come to ride with the brave companions? Like you should be at odds with these people, right?
Yep.
And he says the Citadel took my chain. I should do something about that wound above your eye as well. And he says, "Well,
Take care
then he
of the
just
wench.
goes,
Take
yeah,
care
he
of
just
the
goes
wench.
around
changes
to
the
it."
subject. He says they took my chain, change the subject. I should fix your eye, and he just gets about doing that.
Yep. So Brienne got fucked up. She's got the cut on her leg, which she's been limping around with, probably not well. And he's like, "Wait, hold on. Tell me about this battle that everybody knows about that I don't know about."
Yep. Because as the maester, or the acting maester, right? He's the one getting the ravens. He's the one getting all the news. He should know everything pretty much. And it's like weird. Like I wonder, like if Roose was there, would Roose give him all the information? Like Jamie's a captive.
I mean, he's a prisoner.
He should be a prisoner.
He's a prisoner. So like, what's the information actually going to get him right now?
Yeah, but like, would you tell your prisoners the actual, like, you know what I mean? I mean, Roose was telling us some of it out front. Like Roose was cordial.
They're not really treating these people like prisoners. So.
At the same thing, though, he definitely told him like your dad just won a major battle.
Yeah, he already said a lot
Like,
of this
you're-
stuff. But
You're in a big place of power.
yeah, I guess
that's the thing.
I
right?
guess specifics don't really matter as much as the big picture,
And
which
from
has
the
already
way
been
it
told.
sounds, they're gonna give Brienne a nice room to kind of like live in. Like they're almost putting them up more than they are making them prisoners at this point.
Yeah, I'll remind everybody that Jamie was put up at River Run. He was in a tower
right.
cell, so which is pretty much like a nice room that you're locked
Yeah.
in until he tried to escape.
He was chained. Wasn't he chained?
He tried
like,
to
sitting
escape.
down? Oh,
Tyrion
yeah.
sent the thief and the mummer and the
Yeah.
So,
murderer.
like he's gonna get put
and
up.
then
He's
he got
more
put in
like
a cell.
in a
Yeah,
hotel
that's
room
true.
than he is a prisoner.
Yeah,
Like,
but that's just like normal what happens to highborn prisoners, pretty much. Yeah.
right.
Yeah, you
And
treat
I
him
don't
all
think
right.
I don't
Yeah.
think Brienne's a prisoner. To your point,
If you tell his
just, like,
family
being hooked
that
up.
if you tell his family that or if you tell him that his family won the Blackwater, that's not what's that going to do? Give him, oh, I'm going to fight against you more.
Yeah,
now.
and I
Like,
think at this point
he's got nothing. He's got no chips.
Yeah, at the point I don't think it was like they weren't trying to tell Jamie. They were just I think Bruce was scolding Vargo, being like, "Things aren't what you think they are, buddy. Like things have
Yeah.
changed."
Yeah.
And Jamie just happened to be there. But yeah,
Yeah, I mean the weird part when they were like, oh yeah, your brother actually set the river on fire and there was green fire all around. Jamie thinks I've dreamed this dream before.
yeah.
Which I don't understand. Right? I don't think we heard that dream, did we?
I don't think so.
I'm just thinking it's like from what I saw, maybe I'm wrong. It was like Ares was gonna burn the city down, and my brother actually did it.
Okay.
I mean,
That's
but
a good
Tyrion
way to
didn't
look at it.
Yeah, but he didn't burn the city down.
I know what he's saying though. Like
Yeah.
Ares or well,
There was green fire
Yeah.
surrounding the city, and I thought it would have been Ares, but it was actually my brother.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Maybe it's not. Nelson can scold me in 10 minutes, non-spoiler.
yeah,
Gotcha.
that's fair.
But they get him cleaned up, and then I just have he wants him to clean up Brienne. That's kind of the end of the chapter for me.
I was gonna say it was like, how did you come by this? And he says a wench's gift, and he makes fun. They make fun of each other, but he kind of says like she's actually my protector, and she's done a good job of it. Like right, like
Yeah.
he's definitely kind of admitting here
Yeah.
to some degree.
Again, we said it kind of at the beginning that he's kind of respecting Brienne a little bit. Like
Yeah.
like I think the fact that he calls her protector is interesting in and of itself. Like he could have said,
Yeah,
she's my
agreed.
captor, she's my
Yeah,
like guard, like you know what I mean. But my protector seems like it's almost like a cooperative relationship than a
yes, yeah. And at this
or an
point,
appreciative deal.
yeah. And the last bits of the chapter I think are weird too, where Jamie says like. Kyron's like, oh, we'll get you something for the fever. We'll get you some NyQuil. And then tomorrow we'll leech your eye to get the swelling out.
Oh, you have leeches?
And Kyron's like, yeah, he's fond of them.
Bolton likes them a lot.
And Jamie's like, he would. It's like, what the hell does that? Like, it's kind of like a weird, like.
It's just like a weird thing for a weird guy. Like, oh, that weird ass guy likes to get leeched.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
it's like, or like it's like I could really go for some pickled chips or something. You know, like you would, you weirdo. Like,
Yeah,
you
exactly.
would.
Like,
It's not like I don't hate you for it. It's just funny,
yeah, I
right?
get that. Yeah.
That's all that means.
You would.
All right. Well, we'll see everybody in the next one.
Wait, Kyle's thoughts, Jamie?
Kyle's thoughts?
Yeah.
Sorry.
With ruse?
Okay, so I had some big plans coming into this one, but I forget what most of them are, right?
Okay.
Like, so I feel like some of this has to come together at some point, right? Like
In which way?
Arya and all that has to come together here. It just feels like to me. But
You
I don't
think
know.
Arya and Jamie are recrossing paths? They're gonna
It's
go.
weird because the last Arya chapter they thought they captured, like up
Jamie,
until the
yeah.
very last paragraph, it's like, oh, Jamie's getting captured. And
Yeah,
then
they
it's
had
like,
a Kevin
it's
or
not
whatever, yeah.
it's not the Kingslayer, exactly. So, and then now we get Jamie. Okay, it wasn't the Kingslayer. He's alive and
We
free.
didn't even
True.
mention that.
Yeah.
It's not Jamie.
Yeah, we didn't talk about that in this chapter, but yeah,
I mean,
sure.
I think
You were
Arya
all
says
over-
like
you
it's
were all
not.
over that.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
Arya straight up says like it's not,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
which is
oh,
the
great,
confusing
not
part.
him. Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, I don't know. I feel like they have to connect. I feel like we need some more of these characters to get together to some degree, but these two feel like they're kind of lingering in the same areas, which maybe the timeline.
Everything
tell
was
me
always
otherwise.
popping off in the Riverwoods,
Yeah,
baby.
yeah. This definitely is the
This place is
hot
good.
area right now for sure. And I mean, to be fair, it is like the center. Like right,
Exactly,
like of
yeah.
course shit is popping off in the middle because it's like a 4-pointed island
Yep.
essentially. So, yeah, I don't know. That's where I'm at. Like,
Jamie versus Arya 1v1.
yeah,
All right, well, we'll see Kyle in the next one for Tyrion 4.
Bye.
Bye, Kyle.
later, nerds.
We'll see the rest of you guys in the spoiler section. So like, subscribe, do all that stuff.
Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Bye, Kyle. Thanks for hanging out with us. See you later. See you next time on.
Tyrion 4. Now, on the spoiler section for Jamie 4. Jeff, what we got?
All right. I got two.
Hold on, before we get started, I'm
Go
yelling at
ahead.
you.
Give me shit. Whatever. Yell at me.
Like I said earlier, I was even trying to give you hints. I was like, hey, sometimes
No,
we tell
bullshit.
you, sometimes we don't
You gave
tell you.
him the biggest spoiler of this whole thing.
He has no clue about that. I feel like there's already been a little bit of hints about Ares.
And what did I say that was like mind shattering? That he was like, "Oh my god, what do you know?"
Not that he did, but we don't know that Ares was planning on blowing up the city. That's supposed to be the big reveal in the next Jamie chapter. I'm just afraid it'll hit a little bit less hard when he tells Brienne in the
bullshit.
bath.
Bullshit. We know that.
We'd heard that he'd planted wildfire around the city, and we'd heard
So what are you
that Jamie
talking about?
killed.
What are we
Hold
talking
on.
about then? What are we
We'd heard
talking
that-
about then? You're not going to yell at me for bullshit that we know.
I'm
what
not
are you
yelling
planning?
mad.
What are you planning? Listen, Nelson. This is how you sound right now. Think about this real life. I'm planning bombs around a city. What do I plan to do with said bombs? Oh, nope. Didn't want to blow them up. Like, shut up. That was stupid. That was
A
stupid.
lot of it, I'm just saying, a lot of the spoilers in this,
Stupid,
a lot of the
stupid,
spoilers
stupid,
aren't
stupid.
telling Kyle things he doesn't know. It's connecting pieces that he does know to each other.
But he
Yes,
knows.
we've heard that Ares was creating a lot of wildfire and was storing it in different areas. But in any way we've heard it before, it wasn't like he was planting them in order to blow up the entire city, which is probably what it was. But the way that we heard it was, Ares was just making a lot of it and storing it in different areas.
I'm not going to take the blame for this one.
Yeah, I don't think Kyle really thought too much about it, but I'm just it's the past couple episodes.
I'm
What did you
not-
say? Last episode you
nope.
spoiled something.
Nope.
You spoiled the horn last John episode.
He had no remembrance of it. Not spoiled.
I'm not super bad because I think you're right that Kyle's not putting it together. But
You were the biggest spoiler of
you've
this
been
episode.
a little loose-lipped
Nope.
recently.
I'm going to yell at you right now. You're loose-lipped. You
Okay, go
should
ahead.
not have pointed out
The Tyrion.
that Tyrion was lied to by Jamie.
The thing is,
'Cause
Kyle said that
here's
he
the
read
thing.
that and knew
But-
it, and he
Nope.
knows
No, he didn't.
no more
No, he didn't.
afterwards the conversation than he did before, which is not true about
Yeah,
the fire
but you
thing.
pointed out like, oh, look at this relationship now. There's a huge lie. What you said is a lot more spoilery than what I said.
I brought
fact.
attention to something. You connected pieces.
You brought attention to a bigger spoiler than me. That's
I
a
brought
fact.
bringing attention to
Nope.
something is fine. You
Nope.
connected pieces.
No, I didn't.
I think what you said originally was fine until you started speculating. When you said like, "Oh, I wonder what his dream could have been," I think that's fine. Let Kyle think about it. But when you said like, "Oh, I assumed it was about him dreaming about Ares blowing up the city," that was like, "Okay, Jeff, you're
It's also a dream.
you're spoiling."
It's
next-
also a dream. It's also a dream, so
I know. And again, I'm not super upset.
You
I'm
had the
just
bigger spoiler.
A reminder to you.
I'm gonna lie my head on the pillow, knowing that you gave the bigger spoiler to Kyle tonight than me, and I'm gonna fall asleep very well.
I'm not upset, but like
I'm
my
not upset
analogy
either.
would be for the one that I'm saying is if like I would have said like, "Hey Kyle, look at this," and then he would have been like, "Yeah, I thought about that too," and I would have said like, "Yeah, what I was thinking was like, what if she wasn't actually a whore and Tyrion and that was the lie?"
Nope.
What do you mean? That's exactly what you did. You gave him the right answer as your speculation.
Nope.
Explain nope. You got to give me a retort now.
Because it doesn't change what I said doesn't change the story. Regardless, it doesn't change the story.
That's a ridiculous retort. That doesn't matter at all. Like, what is that answer?
It's already happened.
You gave him the right answer as your speculation. I just brought attention to a line. I liked when you brought attention to it. I was totally fine with that. But when the problem is,
I'm going to continue to fight this.
You panicked under pressure. When he pressed you on it, you're like, yeah, I didn't know either. You were like, oh, well, I thought about it.
I don't even that's what I said.
Here's the answer.
To be honest, I don't remember it because I don't remember it being that big of a deal. Because we never won. I will go back on
That's
this.
That's the biggest
again.
Jamie thing.
Nope. A dream? I don't remember Jamie having a dream. Did Jamie have a dream of the?
No. I mean, like the Jamie.
That's
reveal.
what I was talking about. I don't remember Jamie having a dream about the city blowing up.
You're right. We actually didn't. I don't think
that
we
was
ever
my
saw.
point. That was my point. There was no dream leading up to this where the city was burning. So, if Jamie had a dream that was blowing up the city, it obviously before Tyrion would have been who?
Yeah, Ares. The thing is, though,
that wasn't a spoiler. The spoiler wasn't that. Yes, Ares was actually planting bombs to blow up the city.
That's
it
a
was
good point.
he had a dream that Ares was going to do that. Turns out it was actually Tyrion setting the Blackwater on fire. So fuck you.
So hang on,
yelling at me because that was the whole point of it.
Again, I still think you said a little bit too much, but I see what you're saying now, and I don't think you explained it well. So I'm gonna explain. I think what you're saying.
I think I explained it really well.
Tell me if what I'm saying is what you were saying. A lot of the times we tell Kyle things that just are clearly make sense. Like it's obvious that this is what we're talking about in this situation.
Sure.
So the only person we've ever heard of before having mass amounts of wildfire in King's Landing was Ares. So, and we know that Jamie knew about that. So when he says that he had a dream about this, it makes sense that it would be Ares. So us pointing that out to Kyle isn't necessarily a spoiler.
I'm just saying from Jamie's history, like who did Jamie work for that had the power to maybe do this? And it would have been Ares, right?
Exactly. So it's one of the things where it's like it maybe isn't a spoiler because we're just kind of pointing out the obvious to Kyle.
Yeah. So like, okay, Jamie's giggling about somebody he dreamed it before. Like, okay, in what situation would he have been in this where he would have dreamed it? Like, what would have made sense? And the only person is Ares. So if that's the biggest spoiler that I've ever given up in this podcast, like, all right, fuck me.
I think the horn spoiler was bigger. But while we're on that,
I think you pointing out the biggest. I think you pointing out that Jamie lied to Tyrion is bigger than anything I've said in the last.
Do you honestly say that, or you're saying that?
I honestly say that because I think it's a lot.
So why? What did Kyle learn from me saying that?
He didn't, but he's obviously like now like on pins and needles for like a Jamie Tyrion thing. Like that dude, that was such a sneaky line that was laced in that he was supposed to read over, and you like stopped it and was like, no, he lied to him. He loves me. He loves me for a lie. Like. That changes their whole relationship. That changes everything from that lie, which was, 7 years ago? I don't know how many years ago, till now. That changes the whole relationship. It changes the whole landscape of Jamie and Tyrion from then on.
I mean, in the show, Jamie and Tyrion, that doesn't happen, right? And Jamie and Tyrion are all buddy-buddy when Tyrion comes back to Westeros. Right. I don't think that's how, in the books, Tyrion hates Jamie as much as he hates Cersei, pretty much, where we're at, because of this lie.
Yeah, right. Exactly. And you could think Jamie might treat Tyrion differently in that time period because he feels bad for him. Not that he likes him, not that he actually cares for him for his brother. You could look a lot differently on Jamie about how he treats Tyrion because of said lie.
So again, if the one thing I wish Kyle would have brought it up, I wish Kyle would have been like, "Hey, this is a weird line," and we could have both been like, "Yeah, that is a weird line." You know
I would have. I was ready to gloss right over because I knew he wasn't going to point it out.
But it's one of the things that I kind of want him to think about because it's one of the things that when he does find out, he'll be like, "Oh shit!"
So sure, I could have gave him oh, there was a dream. Who would have blown up the He would have came to that conclusion though so quick. There's a mad king that was
Here's-
lighting people on fire. Like
So-
he would have if sure, maybe I gave him the answer. He would have had that answer. Like that's an obvious answer. If you would have said like, "Oh, what's the lie to Tyrion?" He would have been like, "I have no fucking clue."
Exactly.
So my spoil is not that big of a spoil because he would have came to that.
I see it the opposite way. But I see what you're saying.
You're a fool.
Where like, to me, like because Kyle kind of has all the clues he needs to put this piece of the puzzle together, he just hasn't yet. When we draw attention to the puzzle, it kind of tells him there's a puzzle.
Not really there. It's not. It's
Exactly.
Not a puzzle.
Hold on. Stop.
Right.
I like that though, because I think that's what Kyle should be thinking. Kyle should be thinking, "Oh, there's no puzzle here. This is just like it's kind of weird information I've heard." But when you like draw attention to it, you're like, "Hey, Kyle, here's a puzzle here. Here's all the pieces you've heard. Now put it together." What I'm telling Kyle is, "Hey, there's a puzzle here," but I'm not telling him any of the pieces he's heard. Is pretty much the way that I see it. And the other thing is, and again, I think what you did, there's no problem with what you did. I'm not mad at, like, I think we're totally.
I'm mad that you brought it up.
I could tell, but the other thing is, I think Kyle has no idea for the Tyrion Jaime thing.
He doesn't have an idea about anything, and that's what it's supposed to be because this book is so complicated, and you should know this from going through this with me pre-podcast.
Yeah,
he's not gonna pick up on shit. There's so much going on that it's so hard to pick up. Like he's gonna forget about that Tyrion or that Jaime mentioned a dream in 2 chapters. It's gonna be a whole different dream. It's
because it'll be 3 months before we get back to Jaime. Yeah,
like come on.
So, but while we're on that dream. So to your point, like what could Jaime be dreaming of? And I know what when you were. I
honestly don't remember a dream. I don't remember the dream.
No. I don't think there was a dream. But like the point, and I'm not trying to like go back to that argument. But when you said,
I'm not actually that mad.
But when you said like what could he be dreaming of? I actually thought that there is something else he could be dreaming of, but not in the past. Maybe he's getting like a Blood Raven dream of the future. And I think I don't have it on me. Can you read the quote for? Where he's talking about that dream, because I think it's like about towers, right? The thing that I'm looking for is green flames and towers together.
Jaime saw green flames reaching up into the sky higher than the tallest towers, as burning men screamed in the streets. I have dreamed this dream before. It was almost funny, but there was no one to show the joke. So there's a couple things.
So you're right there. It's not what I. So let me say what I was going to say about it real quick. I thought that maybe it was a little bit to the future because Cersei does burn the Tower of the Hand with wildfire, and he says like flames higher than the tallest tower. I don't know if the Tower of the Hand is the tallest tower, but you're right. Like the men die. The men screaming insinuates that it's the streets. Like that was a controlled as you can get with wildfire controlled.
I mean, does this bring on like Mad Queen, the Bells episode, like people just burning in King's Landing future
That's also
type
interesting.
shit?
Maybe Jaime's there. Yeah.
And I think let's get off of me spoiling it and let's get in this chapter because there's a huge line in this chapter that brings the Bells show type shit. Is like me and Cersei need to die together.
Yes.
So then like if you're gonna have this dream, and let's say that it's the Bells where there's people burning in the streets and there's flames as high as the tallest tower because of dragon fire, and then Cersei and Jaime die together. I hope it's better. Like, I don't think it'll be them just like getting collapsed on. Like I thought that was pretty
so to
lame.
that point. Let's take it step by step, right? Like how could they die together? Right. That just in alone, like what kind of thing could cause 2 people to die at the same time? Like not a battle because Cersei wouldn't be in a battle. So like to your point, it has to be like a building collapsing or like a dragon burning them both while they're in the same room. Or
I mean, if it was a battle, it could be them like in a room and he was like the sole protector and he just got overtaken and maybe they both died. Maybe
they're on a ship and they both it goes under. Right. I'm just trying to think of any possibility of how they could die together because I think this is important because the other thing is like we know there's a prophecy about how Cersei's supposed to die, which like doesn't really fit
remember
into
what that
dying.
old lady said.
It's that you'll be like I'm pretty sure that the Valonqar will wrap his hands around your throat,
which is like little brother.
Yeah, and Jaime is technically younger.
Jaime and Tyrion
might is little. Be. And I think a lot of people think that this extends to like the Hound is the little brother of the Mountain, so he technically applies.
Any little brother can be the Valonqar.
And I think if you go Valonqar is a Valyrian word, which I'm not sure it is, but if it is, then Valonqar is a genderless word, right? Because
So it could be little sister, which
Could be
means
Arya.
Arya.
Exactly.
I
So,
would
like,
love that. I
it
would
could
love
be
that.
anybody if it was like,
I mean,
depends on
just
how much
like
read into it.
if they're
But
gonna
hold
die
on, hold on.
together, I'm not going off the topic. I'm just saying, like, if they die together, like, could Jamie die, like get sliced open,
But the Valonqar
trying to
prophecy, I
protect
think,
her?
is also not only little brother, but I think it's also I think it involves strangling. I wish I had it off. I can Google it. I'll Google
I
it.
mean,
real
you
quick.
not having it on you,
But I'm
is
pretty
huge
sure it
minus.
involves strangling, which just leads me to the question. Like, to your point, I thought about this too. If it goes with the show, and you continue this thought, like if it goes with the show, how can it be strangling and two people dying together? Did they strangle each other? Like, you know what I mean?
Maybe they both took the strangler.
Oh, the strangler poison, Romeo Juliet style. I
mean,
don't hate that. That's actually kind of like a really poetic way to do Valonqar prophecy.
That's a poetic way for Jamie and Cersei to go out.
Jamie strangles Cersei with poison.
And then
I kind of really like that. Let's look up the Valonqar prophecy.
If we're not the first ones to come,
I've never heard that before, and I've heard it all. So that's an original Jeff, just off the cuff. Like, and the thing is, when you come up with your best theories, you're not even really thinking about it. You're just trying to like fill air while I Google something, and you just it's like you stumble upon greatness.
you don't have to try. What's my name in the Discord?
When your tears have drowned you, the Valonqar shall wrap his hands around your pale white throat and choke the life from you. So, I mean, there's a lot in that line, right? Pale white throat implies she might be a fucking white.
It could be another.
When she's already been turned, and then Jamie's killing her to save people, right? But while we're on the Valonqar, and now I've confirmed it is a strangle type thing. There's a part where Jamie says two things, I think, actually. He says, I'll get a golden hand and rip the throat out of Vargo Hoat, which is like, because the thing is, like, could you strangle somebody?
Does he get a golden hand?
He does get a golden hand.
Okay.
And we should have brought this up with Kyle. Bywater, like Tyrion.
Yeah, he has a steel hand.
Had an iron. He got killed but he was. They called him Iron Hand. Exactly. Yeah. So like, if you had to think, like, is this possible to get a golden hand? 100%. If somebody can make it out of iron, they can make it out of gold,
and it's like
they have
fake
the money
gold.
for it.
I think if I remember the show, it's like an iron hand that's just casted in gold. Or
I think
it's
that's called gilded,
gold.
right?
Yeah.
It's like when you put the outside layer of something. I'm not 100% sure, but like
I'm pretty sure that's in the book. I remember. Like, I think in the show they're like, "Oh, it's solid gold. You got a solid gold hand, but gold's a soft metal." That
I know there's a great line at some point where there's a whore that's stroking Jamie's hand, and he's like, "Does she think I can feel that?"
I don't remember.
She's stroking his like gold hand. He's like, "This dumb bitch. Does she think I can feel that?" But
that was the biggest. That was one of the two that I had was the Jamie. We have to die together. I just feel like that's very prophecy-ish, right?
Yeah, 100%.
And it's not like.
To your point, I think the two things are together are really curious because I think both him and Cersei have said this. I think Cersei has thought this at some point before that we were born together, we'll die together. But I think when you put that next to the she's strangled, how do you die? Like again, if you just go down the list of how do you die with multiple people, big explosion, maybe a fire, drowning, maybe a collapse of a tower. Maybe an invader. Maybe you could count that. I think that's a stretch. Even if somebody breaks into your room and kills one, then the other, I think that's a stretch.
They didn't die together.
I would say that counts. But still,
I'm putting more stock in my Romeo and Juliet.
Did you see the quote?
Theory.
When your tears have drowned you, the Valonqar shall wrap his hands around your pale white throat. I think the quote makes it tough for it to be the actual strangler poet because it sounds like. It doesn't say strangler anywhere. It just says hands will wrap, which I think it could work, but I don't think it's super obvious that way. But did you have anything else that we're kind of lingering on that one? Do you have anything else for this one?
Let me just scroll through my notes real quick.
Kind of just like on a meta level. I kind of have like one last thing. Kind of on like a meta level.
Yeah, let's go super meta. I love going meta. Wait, how about the constellations? Did you have anything about him mentioning the stars? It's like 3 chapters in a row, stars.
Yeah, he didn't say Sword of the Morning. He said some of the ones that we hear with Jon, like the Maid and the King's Crown. I'm pretty sure. Like Jon says the King's Crown to us was the cradle to them.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. The Stallion, I think they both knew that. I don't know if we've heard the Swan before. Again, I don't know if there's anything super crazy there. I didn't have a spoiler note for it. But what I had there was like a Jaime Brienne relationship. The thing that I think is kind of interesting here is Jaime says they were tied together. Shagwell calls them knight and lady.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and then again, the people think that they're gonna get together at the end. Yeah, but people think like Jaime and Brienne are gonna get together at the end. And at one point, Jaime says his hand was always between them. And then later he's like, I was that hand. That hand made me everything I am.
Mm-hmm.
And just kind of like on a meta level throughout the chapter, he's thinking like, without this hand, I'm nothing. Right. But from a fan's perspective, how many people from the show love Jamie?
I would say a good amount.
A lot of people, I think Jamie's a favorite character.
He's
for a lot
a
of people.
favorite character arc, I would say, for sure. I don't know if you could say favorite character.
Yeah, but it's not because of everything that's happened up to this point. It's because
after.
of everything that happens after this point. And in Jamie's mind right now, like we said earlier, he's peaked. His best moments were ahead of him. And in all the fans' mind, everyone who actually loves Jamie, his best moments are behind. He hasn't done any of his best shit. Like giving Brienne the sword is way better than being knighted for the Kingsguard. Fuck being knighted for the Kingsguard. Giving Brienne Oath
acting like a true knight later on.
Exactly. Doing that kind of shit is what makes Jamie great. So I think in this chapter it's kind of like, and then when he says to like on a meta, like again, like a metaphor level, him and Brienne, they're tied together, and he's like, his hand was always between them.
Mm-hmm.
In this chapter, he's saying that my hand was everything that made me great. Right. I'm pretty sure in the next chapter, he also says, my hand was everything that made me what I am. It's the hand that killed the king. It's the hand that pushed Bran from the tower. It's the hand I used to finger Cersei. He literally says all this shit.
Wow.
So it's kind of like, if all that shit, and that is the shit that Brienne hates him for.
Yeah.
Right? So here
now
he's saying...
Now that's cut away from him, and now you can be the person you were meant to be.
Exactly. Like that part of him was literally what was between him and Brienne having a relationship. Right? And he's thinking my hand is... Like, I am my hand. It's what I am. And it is what you are, kind of. But it like the coin flips both ways, right? You know what I mean? Like it's the good side and all the good shit you've done and all the bad shit you've done, and now you get a clean slate, which is like one of the best. I think I've told you this before. I think one of the best lines in the whole book, in the whole series. I think it's probably later in this book when Jaime gets back to King's Landing, and he's looking at his page in the White Book, and basically he reads all his deeds so far. Killed the king,
nicknamed the Kingslayer,
defeated the Whispering Wood. It's all bad. But then Jaime's like, but the rest of the page was blank and ready to fill with whatever he wanted. So by that point, right, like we said, Kyle's already coming over on Jaime. It's kind of cool to see Kyle like slowly start to like Jaime.
I feel like he's gonna fight himself really hard to like truly do it.
Not
and
like
to your point, like you can always think back on like
he pushed Bran out a window. He always pushed Bran out a window. Like there's no good reason really for that. Yeah. Right? Like again, like in his position, would you have done it? Probably not. But like, do you see where he's coming from? Yeah, like you're protecting your own, right? But yeah, like,
no,
some of his
I agree. Kyle's probably coming along a lot quicker than I ever. I don't know. I had the show, so it's like I kind of knew. But
what I think is interesting is that like even so, the thing that remains, the reason Kyle doesn't like Jaime still is because of that narcissistic side of him, right? Like I'm still better than everybody. My hand is what made me great. Being a killer was the only thing that mattered. By the time we get that quote of him in reading the book, the White Book, like Jaime has, I think that's him kind of realizing like it doesn't matter if I don't have a hand. I think that might be right after he gives Brienne his sword. And I think that might be him realizing like I can still do awesome stuff. Like I might not be able to do it myself, but I can like hook people up, or I can make decisions that change kingdoms, and you know what I mean.
Does he not train that hard to be like a left-handed fighter?
He does, but he doesn't train with Braun. He trains with Ilan Payne because Ilan Payne doesn't have a tongue, so Ilan Payne
can't be like. I do remember that Ilan Payne can't be like.
And a lot of times, like while they're training, Jaime will just be venting to Ilan. He'll be like, "I fucked my sister and I love it," and Ilan will like laugh at him, and it just pisses Jaime off. But like, there's nothing he can do about it because he sucks at fighting. So like Ilan will just keep beating his ass. But that's a big part of Jaime.
Respectable in the show.
I think he becomes a decent,
respectable.
I think he'll
not a great knight, but respectable. Like he could fight people.
He'll never be Jaime again, but I think he'll probably get back to there in the books too. But yeah, that was the last thing I had was just like the quotes of and again I think it's more in the show where he literally says something to Brienne where he's like, "I was that hand." Yeah, it's like a quote that he says. I don't know if it's actually in the books.
I have to watch the scene. I don't remember. You're saying in the bathtub?
I don't know if it's there or if it's afterwards, but maybe it is in the books. But just like when there's the line in this chapter that says his hand was always between them, right? Shagwell tied them together on the horse.
Yeah,
and there's a joke about like his hand always slaps her
grabbing
breast.
her breast. Yeah,
exactly. But I thought that the quote that like his hand was always between them was kind of like because later he will think that was everything that was bad about me.
Yeah, and that was keeping them apart. Is what you're saying.
Yeah, and now that that's gone, maybe they will end up together, right? Because all the he's kind of learning.
I do think.
Jamie's
I'm just speaking of the show. I don't really remember from the book of like how he thinks about her later on, but they loved each other for sure in the show.
Yeah. Well, I mean, until he leaves her.
There's one quick thing. Like Jamie picks up on the fact that Bolton might not be as cool with the Starks as.
That was one thing I think we did play off pretty well.
It's like the first hint at like the Boltons not being Stark men. Jamie's
Yeah, I mean,
oh, that's curious, right?
Again, it's hard for Kyle because I think it's a long time in between chapters. If you're reading quickly, this might be more obvious. As soon as Rob and the Frey, as soon as Rob got back to Riverrun, all the Freys fucking left.
Yeah, and the Freys were mad as shit at Harrenhal.
Yeah, the last Arya chapter, and we even kind of brought that up a little bit. They were pissed off. Why are they still here? Right, and I think we kind of played it off a little bit with like, oh, maybe Rob's keeping them at bay by killing Rickard for killing one of their own, and like they are thinking about sending him back. But yeah, they're not happy. The reason they're still here is because Roose is already not Stark.
Roose is dealing else people. Yeah.
And again, Kyle might not realize it next chapter when Roose sends Jamie to King's Landing. You'd think he would at that point. Roose is not giving Jamie back to Rob. He's giving him to Tywin. That's a red flag, but we'll see. You know what I mean? Like it'll be a tough one to sort around if Kyle's not picking it up. But on that point, I think we're doing good. But yeah, that was all I got.
Yeah, I can't believe Nelson gave that huge spoiler today. If you want to comment,
Kyle,
we're in the Discord.
I will say Kyle doesn't read comments, so feel free to comment anything. I don't share the spoilery ones with Kyle, so let us know who spoiled Kyle more, me or Jeff. Get involved. Take my side.
Yeah, take Nelson's side because he needs it. I'll see you guys.
See you guys in the next one. Bye bye.